Welcome to Sunday Satire. Today we have a brutal parody story about a man named Lance Dix and his relentless hunger for power. This is The Rise of Lance Dix. Lance Dix was a bitter and ambitious man who had spent years nursing deep grudges behind a thin veneer of authority. Once a school resource officer with little more than a high school diploma, he had parlayed his uniform into a mid-level administrative role in the county school district. He proudly called himself Director of Student Safety and Community Relations, a title that felt like a throne to him. His wife, a teacher in the same school system, brought in a comfortable six-figure salary. He despised the elderly. He hated their slow pace in stores, their frequent medical visits that clogged traffic, and especially the property tax relief many of them received. But his deepest contempt was reserved for the disabled. The sight of handicapped parking placards or news of tax breaks for those unable to work sent him into rages. "They're stealing from me!" he would shout, slamming doors and hurling objects across his office. One afternoon, upon hearing about a modest deduction granted to a family with a severely disabled child, Lance threw a stapler so hard it shattered a framed county seal. He followed it up with a flurry of furious emails, demanding the reallocation of community resources, away from anyone he considered a non-contributor. In his mind, the residents of the county existed only as a personal piggy bank. His neighbors were nuisances, the broader community a feeding trough to be drained. He lived in a house 3 times the size of the average home in the county, and drove a luxurious 4-door pickup loaded with every amenity. In a recent school board meeting, he had even put up a presentation of slides, comparing himself to the governor. He made more than the governor, and was now demanding a 50% raise in salary, as well as a county-funded gardener for his estate. Yet none of it was enough. He cruised past modest homes in his oversized luxury truck with open disdain, daydreaming of the even larger mansion he truly deserved, complete with private security, waitstaff, and even greater luxuries. "I do the real work," he often told his nervous assistant. "These people owe me." Lance had just finished gouging the county with a tax hike of more than 52% in under 3 years. Now he was publicly announcing another 31% increase set for October. He pushed aggressively for what he called school-first initiatives, arguing that the school district should dominate every aspect of local governance: youth programs, mental health, after-school security, and early intervention. In truth, it was all about expanding his control. The only people who truly supported him were certain Democrats and the entrenched administrators within the school system. Among them was Susanna Phibbs, a longtime school board member who had originally helped Lance secure his administrative job when he was still a uniformed resource officer. She had pulled strings and vouched for him. In return, Lance made sure she remained securely on the board. Susanna glided through meetings and events draped in lavish fur coats during the winter, playing the part of an aging socialite who refused to relinquish power. She was one of his most reliable political allies. Lance spoke in tough-sounding slogans he had picked up during his years as a resource officer. Unburdened by any real education or policy knowledge, he simply believed he was entitled to more money, more power, more deference. His ultimate vision was clear: transform the school system into the most powerful entity in the county, and crown himself the first school dictator, complete with his own dedicated police force funded directly by school taxes and loyal only to him. "The schools of the county," he would proclaim at public meetings, sweaty and red-faced, flashing a rehearsed smile while his eyes revealed raw hunger. "Everything else is secondary." Behind the scenes, he drafted sweeping proposals like the Unified Student Protection Act, which would grant the district director broad emergency powers over local law enforcement. Legality was irrelevant to Lance. Only dominance mattered. One quiet evening, after yet another explosive tantrum over proposed tax relief for disabled seniors, Lance stood alone in his oversized house. He stared at a county map pinned to the wall, red marker aggressively circling the school district boundaries like an expanding empire. "They'll all pay," he whispered. "Every last one of them." As months passed, unease grew in the community. Some still viewed him as a passionate education advocate. Others saw the naked authoritarianism lurking beneath the surface. But Lance remained oblivious. Too consumed by fantasies of even greater wealth and total control, whispers of resistance began to spread through the county. In back rooms and church pews, people prayed for deliverance. Sooner or later, the same pride that built Lance Dix up would be the very thing that brought him crashing down. That was The Rise of Lance Dix. a brutal Sunday satire parody. Thanks for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe.